Okay, and here we are now. We're back with another edition of our Centenary podcast. And tonight we have two men that don't need any introduction to. There are people around the place. We have Donie is joining us from the parish of Inver up there in Mount Charles, and Anthony's joined us from Donegals Park. Lads, we're very welcome, boys. Great to see you here. And as I say, hope everything's going well with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good so far. Yes. Yeah, hope everything's
good evening. Good evening, John. How are we doing?
All right, Tony. Boys, listen, we're basically gonna just look back over the year, probably your earlier years. Say, obviously, Anthony, this is your story's been told a lot of times against the All Ireland and that kind of stuff. But we're gonna probably delve back a wee bit deeper to back in the day when you started off playing with the club and that kind of stuff. And you as well, Donie, you were probably a wee bit later starting, maybe with Donie. But what's your earliest memories, Donie, when you started off playing at underage and that kind of stuff?
Well, probably my first memories are we were down in it's LYIT now, but it was still the same. And Francis Connolly was there with us, and I was probably about 15 or so. It was 15. I would say it was 15 before I started playing for Ardra. And I remember Francis making a call up to Columba, whatever, that there was this boy down in Yarn was interested in playing football. So anyway, that's where it all started for me. Francis Connolly was the man who made the phone call to Columba, and that's a long time ago now.
So the rest is
too expensive then.
No, indeed. Francis was a lively player himself. He was a very good player himself. Great talent altogether. Would that be around under 16, probably, Donnie, at that stage?
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, probably. I think I didn't. Yeah, it's probably maybe we got the latter stages of under 14. I'm not sure now what it was, but I remember going into and I remember coming up to train a couple of evenings, and Big John was there and that, and I remember him explaining to me that I'd have put my toe under the ball to pick it up. We'd have been playing probably soccer down in Yarn. And that would be my first memories down in Kentucky. Yeah, Big John, and I can't remember who else was there that evening, but I remember John always saying you can't be picking her off the ground.
Well, now if Big John tells you not to pick her to the ground, you better lift her up.
Tony, that's the first memories, anyway.
Very good, Tony. You would have been kind of coming under 14. Probably would have been your first around that time. There was no under 12 championships at the time. It was probably under 14, and obviously under 14s was a big one because we won the championship that year in 1976.
Yeah, it would be my first probably club under 14 or schoolboys was called in them days, John. And
that's right.
And my first game was in Sandfield, but we were well used to Sandfield because that's where the seniors we played our games there anyway, and we were always down about Sandfield there. But I think we played Ross's Rovers in the first round, and we got through Ross's Rovers and tight game too that evening, and we beat Glenties in the quarter-final, and we beat Ballyshannon by a point in the semi-final.
That's right.
And then, we went on then we played St. Eunan's, and which was a very, very high-scoring game. Funny enough, and I was just doing a wee bit of research on it there this evening there. We were 9 points down, like it was 5 minutes left in the first half of that game,
That's right.
2-4 to a point, and we went in at half-time 2-4, 2-2. So we threw in a lot of goals and that. Patrick McCloone got a few, I think, but it was a great sports start. Like it was a great start out, John. And they won an under 14 championship medal. The very first year, and but it was a good team, and we beat a very fancy St. Eunice team because they hammered Cloughaneely by 9 goals, in their semi-final. So with Charlie Margrew and company, and Jimmy Kennedy and Sean McIntyre, now they're a good squad,
they were hot favourites at the time, and I remember as a young fella. It was really a matter of going down to fulfil the fixture.
They were certainly were, and I always mind the homecoming, it was unbelievable that evening, we had a massive cavalcade all together, and there were bonfires everywhere. So it was a great occasion, I suppose, and it was a great start for me, John.
That's right. I remember it as a young fellow well, because one thing I do remember with that day was that we would wear Glenties jerseys that day, because I think there was only one set of jerseys in the club, and we had borrowed a set of jerseys because the senior team, we were playing the junior semi-final afterwards against Killybegs, and they were using the jerseys. So that goes to show you how much things have come nowadays.
Oh, things
Big difference
have
now.
gone. Yeah, there's no doubt about that there. Like, but no, it was a great time. I'll always remember that day. Like, and you know, I know I got man of the match that day, but really and truly, Jerry Neal should have got man of the match that day. He was great that day, but he was lined himself and Jimmy Kennedy about 5 minutes ago, just.
That's right. For very, I remember for very little.
For very, very little, yeah.
That's
And,
right.
so,
was a great player. That Joseph and Jerry were kind of the mainstay of that team. There was a lot of good players came in. Obviously, Rambo and a lot of other boys were there at that stage as well.
yeah,
And you had the likes of Paddy Waters and bucks like that wouldn't be much heard of afterwards, but the good players at the time. And as you say, Big Patty McClean at full forward, I think, bagged 3 or 4 goals that day.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah, he turned the game around, like himself, like, you know.
That's right. That's right.
Like, we were in big trouble, like, but I think Patrick threw in 2 goals in 2 minutes, I think, you know.
That's right.
And but no, it's a great occasion. I still have that man of the match trophy in the house, funny enough, you know.
That's right. That's what the first one of many. Donnie, we usually got many games that time. Obviously, Anthony mentioned Ross's Rovers there, and Ross's Rovers were the bane of our lives for a long time at Underage because they had kind of picked from the Gibara down as far as Crawley Bridge. There were the 3 clubs who were together now. Dunlone, were in the Rossa were all together that time. But how would we have? Can you remember playing many games that time, Donnie? Did we get very far in competitions on the teams you were on?
Tell you the truth, I don't remember. I remember playing a couple of minor games now, you know, that probably would have been on fairly good teams that time too. A bulk of those boys went on to play senior Jared. You know, I kind of blended in, like you said, I was a bit behind those guys, you know. So, but
yeah,
no, probably biggest games I would have played in would have been probably maybe minor under 21s and stuff like that there before I really got going. I remember having some tough battles against Kilkear at under 21 and maybe some minor games and against Donegals. We had a couple of clinkers of games against them at that age group as well, you know, and
Donegals and Killybegs would have been together that time.
Yeah, and I think if I'm right too, I think Ballyshannon and Baltra were together that time too.
They probably were, yeah.
At those age groups, yeah, because Matt and Porrick and those boys were all playing for Ballyshannon anyway at that stage. You know, they joined anyway at some stage. I don't remember exactly when now, but they were a very good side.
And the first year, they were that enough without having the Ballantrae boys because as you say, you had Matt and Porrick Gallagher. Them kind of lads were great footballers at the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like those lads, you know, like they were stalwarts for their county as well. You know, they're a very good group of players now. Even, you know, Anthony and Martin and Jared, I remember playing a lot, you know, with those guys playing in behind those guys, you know, and it was great. Now, but I remember, you know, some of the games in Kilkear and that, and I remember playing against maybe Glenties a couple of times, you know, and stuff like that, but just games, maybe I think maybe once or twice, you know. But other than that, now that's all I would have played. You know, just later on, like I said, minor and under 21 and that before I would have made it to that level, you know.
Yeah. And the obviously playing adult football then, Donnie, the junior team started around that time. Did you go straight into the junior team first, or did you go straight into senior?
No. I played with oh my goodness, he was a real gentleman, John Gallagher.
That's for sure.
Oh my goodness, he was, and we played like junior or reserve, as it's called now, for John, and it was an absolute pleasure to play for that man. You know, we had a lot of good players in that team. You know, Francis, like I said, I mentioned before, and Francis Gallagher, and a lot of those guys played on it. You know. And no, that was my first experience playing adult football. You know, it would have been with John Gallagher, and I can only say he was an absolute gentleman, you know.
That's for sure. John was a gentle wee man, and he never had any trouble getting teams out because nobody would refuse John when you asked him. When he asked you to play, nobody would refuse him, you know.
It was brilliant, you know. It was absolutely. And then funny, the other memories I have of around then would be. I remember Neely and Martin Byrne. Neely had a team up in Carrickaclave at the time. James McGuire used to call it Park in the Keenu.
That's right. Oh, I heard. Michael Phelan tell stories about it.
Oh my God, we had some good teams up there. Like Stephen Sweeney and Brendan and Thomas McGuire and Patrick Jared McGroarty, and the Cunninghams used to come out. John and Barry in that evening, and Eamon Waters, Michael Phelan, myself. Oh my goodness! But like I said, we had a challenge game then against John's reserve team down in Ardra, and Neely was the manager. Neely Byrne was the manager, and he went down and they beat the junior team down in Ardra. It was great memories, you know. Some
That's
great
right,
players,
yeah.
you know.
Park and Keene, it was no place for men that weren't too brave, because I'll say that the name, it was a good name, Park and Keene, because there was plenty of men left to crying, I would say.
Oh boy, I'll tell you, the sidelines were very close. You couldn't hide anywhere. It was great fun. It was great people. It was great. And I remember playing, even senior, when I was playing senior, we used to rush back there on a Sunday evening, a lot of Sunday evenings to get to play, or Saturday evenings. But then some of the managers put a stop
to it. It wasn't safe. It wasn't safe.
No.
It wasn't good preparation for a championship match.
It was great fun. It actually was, you know, and like I said, you know, come down through the years back, those were some great guys, you know.
Yeah, there was indeed. Anthony, did you step on the junior team first, Anthony, or did you head straight to senior?
Well, first of all, Joe, just to move on, like, you know, just like to mention, like, our managers, like in 1976, I had on the 14
That's right, yeah.
Frankie Brennan and Tom O'Donnell, like, and just hope Frankie's in good form, like, and it was great to be playing under, like, a Frankie, like, such a big name at the time, you know.
That's right.
And Tom, like, there were two excellent managers at the time, and no, I think I played one junior game against Glenfin, and I wouldn't know the full team, but I know Johnny D was playing, Charlie White, Clumba Dever, Sean Brennan, who else, like, and but Glenfin beat us that day now, right?
That'll be Glen. I remember that would be Glenfin's first team at the time.
It was Glenfin's first team, yeah.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
I think that was 1970, the summer of '79, I think. You know.
It would be around that time, all right.
And I was in the senior team then. Thereafter, I forget who played the following Sunday.
You were playing County Minor. You were playing County Minor at that stage, Anthony, too.
I was, yeah. 2 years of County Minor, like 79 and 80, like, and look, we hadn't much success there. Funny enough, you know, and even at club level, John, like, after, you know, a great success in '76, like, we had no success either, like, you know, at under 16 or minor level, you know, but there were so many other good teams around anyway as well, like.
That's right.
Donie mentioned them there, but it wasn't then until 81, like, that we had our next success, like, at the level, you know. That's right. But I often wonder what happened, you know, that we didn't even make it, you know, anyway close, like, you know.
That's right. There were a lot of good players that time. Obviously, the under 21 victory in 1980 was the next one. Donnie, were you in that squad? Yeah.
Yeah,
in that squad in 80, Donnie?
Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah, but like, I mean, like Anthony said, there was an abundance of good players. Like, my goodness, you know, they were very, 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 very. But then they moved on at senior level. They played a lot of good games or at senior level. You know, it's just funny the way it works. Like Anthony said, you think at that age that you would be fit to build year after year, but it doesn't work that way, funny enough.
That's for sure, yeah. Many underage players, kind of, you think probably they never see senior football.
Yeah.
That time, obviously, it was kind of the start of a red letter time for the club, the senior level, and the final. Obviously the first final was in 1980 against Kilcar, and Andy, were you in the squad at that stage? Obviously, you were in the squad. You were in the senior team at that stage.
Oh, it would have been, yeah. Like, it was a tough campaign. Like, we had a very, very tight game with Killybegs, Duncanelli combined, like, in Glenconkill and Cashel. They had a very, very good side now. Like, you know, they had Colin Shovelin, Martin Shovelin, and 4 or 5, Duncanelli, who else there? And then
you and Harvey and then boxing them.
Yeah, and we just scraped through, and there was a very Monday evening, like, but indeed it was a game of two halves, like, but then we met our old foes in Kilcar then in the final.
Aye.
And that was a tough game now, in all fairness, like, but like, we came out fairly. I think we beat them with 3 or 4 points maybe in the end up, you know, and which is, you know, again, it was great, like, you know, but you know, again, a lot of that squad in 1980, like, they never really went on to be, you know, fully fledged senior players, you know, but I suppose the emigration played a bit of a part in it as well, like, you know.
It did indeed, yeah. Lanty would have been at his height at that stage. He was great. He was going great that time.
You had Lanty, you had John and boys like that there, and yeah, sure, even
Jimmy
Thomas.
Caffrey would have been around that team.
Jimmy went to England, didn't he, or something as well?
Yeah.
Thomas moved off as well, God rest him.
Yeah.
He left, and so like we lost a lot of players. Like when you think about it,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The final, the senior final then that year, obviously Clare got their own back in the senior final that year in 1980, and us very hot favourites that day.
Yeah, we just didn't perform like, and funny enough, I know I started full back that day against Charlie O'Donnell. Yeah,
right.
I always mind that. Yeah. But look at Michael Carr and Mark McHugh both ran the show that particular day, like for Clare,
Yeah.
Yeah, the day supposed to deal with the difference, between the two teams.
It was a rival of McHugh that day, really, to 10 points. I think he scored Martin.
Exactly, it was. Yeah. He was brilliant that day. Now there's no doubt about it. It was a one-man show, supposed, and but it was a huge disappointment at the time too.
That's right. But at least the following year, obviously, we went on to go a step better in 81. Donnie, do you remember much about that campaign?
81. Yeah, I remember. It's funny. Like, I mean, when Anthony talks about the under 21 Kilcar, those games kind of stick out in your mind. I didn't play now in the 80 game, and but 81 campaign, we moved on to that. All right, But it's funny. Like, you can pick out one or two games, but it's for me, it was a group of players. I think after 1980 there was somewhat of a changing of the guard, in my opinion. There came a lot of, maybe from the under 21 team below us, Thomas, Ted, all those guys there, Ted Preston, Niall Campbell, a lot of those guys started breaking into the team, and, yes, and they were a great addition, but I think the campaign for me, overall the campaigns, I suppose the one common denominator over all the campaigns, and he was a great influence on me as a player as well, it was Anthony Harkin. I think Fonzie Bennett can be my first start as a senior player against Ballyshannon down on the old pitch in Sandfield. My goodness, that's years ago.
Yes. That's around 19. That was probably around the tail end of 1980, because I think Fonzie was manager that year, Don.
Yeah. And I came on that time, and then after that, but 81 games. Now, I really wouldn't remember a lot about the games. I remember going out and playing, and my job seemed to be to pick up, one or two.
The danger man.
People. It was a short list for me.
I know.
and that football was different then too. You go out and you could do your job, or that. It's not the way it is today, but. No, it was good. No, it was good. But like I said, that they'll be remembered maybe for one, and maybe in 81 and stuff like that there. But that was a good team. That team, I remember we lost as a unions as well, and 4 masters, and that was a good team. And then I left shortly after that, and I think if like Anthony says, immigration hit that team, that panel of players.
Yeah. I remember well after the 81 championship. The following year, I think Frank and Lanty and Connie went to America at the time, and I remember I was only young at the time, but it was like a wake in the parish at the time.
Oh my God, jeepers! Yeah,
it was a huge blow to everybody. Obviously, the boys had to go, but it was the 3. There were 3 strong men in the club, and it was even though they came back year after year playing for the club, it was a huge blow at the time for the boys. The boys went away.
Oh, it was a massive loss. Like they were huge players.
That's right.
It's like taking the middle out of the heart out of any team, and they were established senior players, that the club needed at that time just to steady the boat, and
that's right.
They were mature, good senior players, but I suppose we weren't the only club that suffered that. A lot of clubs suffered that at that time. It was a bad time for immigration, but
it was a league awakening in McGurk as well, John.
I can imagine
the population dropped.
I would like that too. Like when they were around, like we always had as they call it, in-house games.
Yes.
And you always had town land games. When the boys were in, but that all kind of fell apart. When they left.
I know. I suppose the Gaffos, you would have been on the Croft boys.
Oh, we've some great games. Like you know, we had like I'll always mind you know there's only one television like and that was out in John Pat's house at the time. You know, Conor Pat's and Conor Gallagher's house. And
Yes.
that's where it all converge on. You know, the day of our Ireland semi-finals. Like sure, you know it was unbelievable. But that's the way it was. Like they had a colour television and then you would have a full-blown game after these games. You know, all Ireland semi-finals and finals like in them years. And
Sure to God, yeah.
you had we used to call them the lower road men come up like to play the boys in the mountain like and that was like an All Ireland in itself. And you know there was no referee either, needless to say, like and
No.
it's a fair bit of heaving done now, but they were great old games like and but that all like when the immigration kicked in and when the boys left that all left as well, like you know.
Yeah, it was a while.
And we some great games in them years. We some great games. We used to go into the mountain into Sabee as well, like and you know they had a 15 in there too, like and we might go there maybe down to play Centenary, like maybe combined with Grove too, like and
Surely.
I mind one day, it certainly mind one day. Gaffo, great friend of mine, still is of the families. I mind Connie put him into one of the biggest holes in it, like with a shoulder, you know. We'll drag him out
He made his way out of it anyway.
That's right.
It was supposed to be a fair shoulder, like no, I don't know.
No doubt, Gavin got him one after.
Oh, I'd say he wasn't found wanting anyway, I would say.
But there must have been pressure. There must have been pressure, Andy. What about Naomh Clumba? Obviously, being so close to the Naomh Clumba boundary, obviously there must have been pressure on to go on the road instead of out the road.
No, funny enough, like that pressure I never found that pressure because I suppose going to Glenty's comprehensive school, like was a turning point there, because funny enough, like Declan Molloy and them went to Carrick Vocational School, like and I suppose the reason being Connie and them went to Glenty's comprehensive school, like so that would it be? No, there was never any pressure really in Trudy, like and we had a great old team in the comp them days as well. Like I was just thinking about the day, like we won under 15. Like there was never one there. We won under 15 county, under 16 county, under 17, and under 19. And
right.
we had a squad of players like and Letcher, Fintown, and Glenty's Ardra, like so we had a good like and there's a lot of football there. And so we had a lot of success, and I suppose that's what gave us a school as well, John. Really,
that's right. I remember I was first year in Glenty's when you boys were fifth years, and like it was like looking at these big stars, coming in the door. But as you had a great team that time. You had obviously yourselves, and you had the likes of Fitz and Fury and Daffy O'Donnell and John McCole and fellas like that.
Yeah, John, and then you had Jerry McHugh and Letcher and Jerry Ward down there, and great player out in Fintown them days, and Andy McGill. He's in the States now. He was as good a player as you would ask to have on your side. Like,
it was a strong name. Kevin Barnes was the PE teacher that time, wasn't he?
Kevin was, and there was a Sheridan as well, like there for 1 or 2 years, like. But Kevin Barnes, he had supposed most of the success for us, like,
Yeah.
And he even got into trouble. We won. Was Jim Garrer was, God rest him, he was the headmaster at the time as well, like, and we had a small celebration after one of our ones, and Kevin was hauled in for it,
Oh, right, sure.
Now there weren't much damage done, like.
No, but there was probably a bit of fant on the job, probably.
A bit of fant on the job was right. I think it was after under 19. We're well close to the age anyway. Like,
I know.
19 success, like
But I remember the school Duscos used to be the school in the school gym that time, and you boys when you were fifth year, leaving, and I mind you there were some funny nights about it. You could see Buxby maybe there'd be a fight start out in the hallway, and there'd be Bucks carried out or sit out the door. I remember it well as a young fellow watching on, But no, they say there were strong teams at the time, surely. But I was moving on then to the round 82 time, and obviously the 2021 campaign. Obviously, Danny, you were kind of used to county teams at that stage. You were a county minor for a couple of years, and you're probably 21 the year before that too. Obviously,
2 spells done at that time. I was on for 2 years, like, and then 81. Then like I hurt the knee, like in the very first round game against Kildare in 81, like, and it was never right. I got it done in Jervis Street, funny enough, and I think it was one of the first times the keyhole in that came into play in that, and but it was never right. Like so, I didn't bother about the county team in 82 starting out, you know, and I didn't mind the playing. Like I missed the Cavan game. I wasn't in the panel, and I wasn't in Baba Fay for the down draw match either, you know.
Right.
But thankfully, I got a call from Tom on the Monday after the day after the drawing game at Baba Fay, and I was training on Tuesday night, and I played in a new uniform on Sunday. You know, so it was a twist of fate, suppose, as well. Like,
because the knee had kept you out of the 81 championship when Ricky came on in the final, but it was only kind of a token gesture. But to have you part of it.
That was a token gesture, like, so I wasn't going to move anyway, you know, and they probably shouldn't have come on, but I was mad to play as usual, like. And,
of course.
But it gave me a lot of trouble, right, you know. But like,
Donnie, do you remember
John, like, saying that, like, we hadn't, you know, what they have now, like, probably if we had it then, like, you know, things might have been different. Like,
that's right.
We had no ice tubs, or we hadn't, you know,
no ice rooms or anything like that kind of stuff. These ice chambers, whatever they are.
You know, look after yourself, like.
You had Fancy Bennett with a big red light in the ears to burn the legs off you.
That's exactly right. The red lamp, that's what you had.
You would be sore before you went because you'd be sore when you came out.
Or you had Johnny D's potion.
That's right. Yes.
Johnny
D was
rubbing the potion on you. Was ahead of his time that time.
Donnie,
you remember much about that? Donnie, you remember much about that? You know, getting on. That was probably your first county panel. And did you have to go through trials, or how did it work out?
Like to tell you, I don't remember doing many trials or that anyway for it, you know. But
probably club form, really.
I just, you know, that was probably it, you know. But it was my first foray into that level of football. Like it was something totally new to me, you know. But
yes.
And under Tom as well, it was a totally different approach.
It was a totally different
approach to training, and you know. I remember the boys from up in Ballyshannon, Brian and Tommy. I don't know who else was on it now, but they were late coming one day, and I think they were dropped for that down game, was it? I remember that, Anthony, that they were late coming, and geez, the lines drawn in the sand. It was all a new experience to me. That
sure to God.
But like suppose like when you mentioned Tom, like you know, just thinking of the year, the previous year, like sure down beat us like by 8 goals or something, John. Like an awful hammer and altogether under 21 level. You know,
with a good team, aren't they?
They would have had like they would have had the Greg Blaney, so that's what around that time. You know, the Ross
a couple of very
like,
good forwards.
Yeah,
a couple of very good forwards now. But Tom, I felt Tom, you know, like I enjoyed the campaign very much. You know, like it was. I didn't play now, but it was. You know, I enjoyed the training and that. You know, when Michael Lafferty was there, and I remember Edmund Brennan was the kit man.
That's right, Edmund.
That's right. Always he was a kit man, and I remember odd evenings up in town of Molloy running up and down that hill, and you'd be well snookered now when it was all said and done. And the next man maybe might appear would be Austin Coughlin.
Yeah, that's right.
And Tom would say, "Sure, take them there for 10 minutes, Austin, and your tongue would be out of mind the way it was, and you'd face back into the sprints on the hill again, you know." But it was a great experience, you know. Well, absolutely, you know, Tom. I still have great time for Tom Connan, you know, and Michael Lafferty and those guys. It was, you know, I think. I think they done Donegal football proud for what they done with that. You know, it was a massive achievement.
It was a huge victory at the time, obviously, and people probably you had to be there to appreciate it because it was the first time Donegal had won an All Ireland, one of the big All Irelands, and you know, it really was the stepping. It was the start of the '92, really, the journey to Salmon '92. Just going through you mentioned you played in the semi final against Down, and the final was against Derry. 2-1 in the final. Obviously, probably the likes of a lot of them Derry boys would have been coming up against them for the next 10 years.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, you had the likes of Damien Barton and them boys, like, and
that's right.
Yeah, like they were, you know, Derry had a very, very good side, like, and but we played well against them that evening in Roma, you know, and played well as a team. But I suppose you just come back to Tom. Like, I suppose Tom was the first man like that started to put a shape on things in Donegal, like, because it was come and go as you want, and that was ran through senior teams as well at the time. And if you didn't want to train, you didn't train, and all that there. But once Tom took over, like, barring you were dead, you had to train, like. And, that's the way it was. Like, there was some good yarns, but like, he's the first man to, I suppose, introduce discipline, really. You know,
I would agree.
It probably shaped a lot of us, like, for the rest of our years, you know.
He was a big fan of yours, hadn't he?
He was. He to be fair to him, I owe a lot to Tom, like, because there's no doubt about that. Because I had no mind that year. Funny enough, like, I was going to give it a complete break, and what knows if I did take a break that year, like, you know, would I be involved at senior level, you know.
I know, yeah.
In later years, so I owe a lot of gratitude to Tom, like, and Tom looked after me, and like, to be fair, any medical attention I needed, Tom got it from me as well, like, and he was the first man probably introduced a bit of, you know, professionalism into the county scene, really, and truly, like, and we were well looked after, like, fed as well, like, and things like that there, and you know, we had John Cassidy. Do you remember him, Donie? He was he was another Fonzie Bennett as well. God red Fonzie, but he was a wild man for the rubbing as well. Like, he used to rub the leg if you like. A good fella, like, but like, it's probably set us up, like, for what was to happen later on. There's no doubt about that, you know, and we owe that to Tom, like, you know.
That's right. He was ahead of his time, probably, from a discipline point of view, and it was his way or no way. And at the time, probably that's what Donegal needed.
Yeah,
exactly, like, and as Donnie said, like, if you were 5 minutes late, you know, go back, like, and that was it, like, don't come over the gate, and that did happen, and but it worked, you know, and we would laugh at some boys being chased, like. It wasn't funny, but like, it ended up, you know, he made sure, like, that, you know, because I seen it prior to that, like, Martin Griffin's father Jerry managed the under 21s, like, and for lucky years, and but sure, you know, there was no organisation whatsoever, like, and even buses and that, like, Tom had all that organised, you know, and it was the start of a good organisation, like, and but he was strict, like, and suppose that's, you know, what was needed at the time as well.
Yeah, there was a close shave in the semi-final that year. That's with against Leeds, a very low-scoring affair. I think that, again, like, he might have been in Longford, but on a terrible day. It was 5 points to 4.
It was a day similar to our Ulster final of '83, or you know, of '93. It was an unbelievable. It was one of the worst days that came. Like, and against a good Leeds team too, like, you know.
That's right.
And, but we were through, like, 5 points to 4, like, and it was a very low scoring game, but it was a horrible day now. But it was a great result at the time, like, and you know, again, I suppose it was all the hard work that was put in, like, got us through that day, you know.
That's right. That's right. And the final obviously against Roscommon and Carrick-on-Shannon, Carrick-on-Shannon was nearly too small for the crowd that day. The Donegal crowd, it was a huge thing at the time, and another terrible day. Donnie, do you remember much about that day?
I just remember the crowd. Funny enough, it's one of the few days that I suppose it's the first time, you know, I was out in front of big crowds, or, you know, I remember, well, we were in the dugout over under the stand, that, you know, and there was a huge crowd there that day. It was, you know, it's one of the memories, you know, and again, the boys played super well, you know, but you know, that was a good under 21 team. Like, an awful lot of those guys went on to be the backbone of the, you know, that 92 team. You know, like, you had Matt, obviously, you know, and Parry Keller, and God rest him, and you had Brian and Tommy, Sylvie, you know, a lot, Ewan McIntyre, Charlie Mulgrew, Joyce. You know, Martin
McHugh, Sean Boner, they were all exceptional players.
Yeah, and Marty Carlin, remember, was on the panel as well, wasn't it? And John Daffy and those guys, you know, but and Martin Shovelin, and it was, you know, when you look back on it and you see what those guys achieved, you know, it was a very, very, very good under 21 team, you know. And I remember, funny, I just to jog my memory, when you asked about trials there was a trial over in Balbuffet one day. I think it was a Saturday, and obviously those guys sent in from clubs. But we had played trained a couple of games or played, and I remember because I knew Brian and Tommy and Matt. And of course, the three boys were always at some kind of skullduggery, you know. They were, so this guy came over and nobody knew his name. Nobody knew where he was from. And Brian Toohey says, right. And Michael McBurty was there as well. And he says, everybody's Paddy. So the 6 backs that he was playing, the 5 backs he was coming over to play with, plus the goalkeeper, your first name was Paddy. The guy would over and he'd say, what's your name, Paddy? And that's what used to go on, you know. There were all kinds of devilment, those guys, you know. But it was good fun. But they were, like Tommy McDermott, those guys was a class player. And from that age group too, I know if Andy remembers from Centenary, was a very good player. Jerry Curran from Ballyshannon.
Yeah,
he played senior for Ballyshannon. He didn't play much football. He
Jerry,
was a good player.
I should look at Jerry. You know, Jerry's a very gifted player, like, and Jerry, you know, he never fulfilled his potential really, like, and like Jerry, you know, he never made it as a senior player, and he could have, like, but
he was very
for his own reasons, like, but and look, that was a good squad of players. There's no doubt about that there, and like Roscommon had a fair old squad that time as well, like.
Oh God, yeah.
But Paul Early and Cole, like, and
that's right.
He was a fine player, like, at the time, but he was playing senior at the time.
Oh, he was a big player. He was a big player that day.
Yeah, but we handled him fairly well, like, but no, Donegal overall played very well that day. We probably could have won by more, and we let them into it. Back into it, but it was an easy goal, like, there was a goal disallowed, I think. But it was a great day. Like, I suppose it was a fantastic homecoming as well. Like, and no doubt Donegal town, the time was overspent there for a night or two, mind you.
It wasn't. Yes, you have to celebrate the victories too. That's a good thing about it, you know.
Sure, it was the first real big homecoming, I think, to set the tone for years to come. You know, it was a huge one at the time, you know, and they would have been around the couple would have around the County 2 boys at that time. Well, I'm sure for the next 3 or 4 days.
I don't mind much of it taking it around. Like, I think maybe locally, all right, like, but it was all divided out, sort of like, you know, all the players in different areas, like, to the cup round, yeah. But it was a great time, John, like, and it was great to be part of it, you know.
It was a huge success at the time, obviously. And things went on then, boys. We're chatting, go back to club now at this stage. Obviously, 83. Then the following year, another county final against students. Obviously, the minors had won the championship. The under 21 victory that year was a big victory, and against Mayrua.
Yeah.
That after the game, they went to a replay, and with the 10 county men that time.
I would look at that, you know, Fanta will always be a lasting memory with me, like, because I think that was one of the best victories that our club ever had, like, because
that's right.
We beat a very, very fancied again, you know, Bandra, like, and I think they had about 10 on the county panel that year. Right, you know, and around that, and you know, geez, Brian Murray, Brian Toohey, Tommy, Sylvester, Matt, you know, there were more there, like, and the first day was a great display, like, and the second day was even better, like, to go back to the well the second time, like, and beat them the second time, you know.
That's right.
And again, it was Fanta was always one of my best hunting grounds anyway, like, and a great place to play in, like, and you know, there was some atmosphere up there in them days, you know.
There was. I remember the time, one of them games was the time that the stone, their big rocks were put out in front of the word letting people drive through. There was a whole handle at the time, like, with the owner and Killybegs club, and I remember there was big controversy about it at the time. And as I say, another thing I remember was, as you say, after the first day, the drawing game, and nobody gave us a chance. Thought, oh, well, they missed their chance now. The second day, but obviously, led by yourself and a few others, you know, we prevailed in the second game too. But one thing I do remember is one time one of the Ballyshannon boys went down and injured, and obviously the Democrat had written our draw off at the time, and Josie Brennan shouted, and he just rubbed the Democrat on him. But that was one of my abiding memories of that day, you know. But no, it was great like at the time, and obviously the senior final then, and there was a few lads going. I think the likes of Paddy Larry and McConnell were going for 3 medals that year. We're up against Unions that year in the senior final, but it was just another disappointing day. Donie, do you remember much about that day?
Yeah, I remember. I don't think we played particularly well that day, but I suppose, but again, the expectations, as always, you're always trying to win these things. But I remember marking Paul McGettigan, and he was a good player at that time, and I was sent out to try to curtail him, and my hands full now, but. That was a good Unions team too. Like Union, Mac and Charlie, and they had a big boy in the middle of the field. What was his name?
Probably was Father Paul McGeehan, was it?
No, he was there too. But another, he was. I think he was. I don't know, was he Gavin?
Oh,
I can't remember.
it was Damien Judge.
Yes,
Damien
that's the
Judge,
boy
that's
I'm trying to think on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a big man, but that was a good Unions team too. They can mean in all fairness, like it's we
They were a strong team at the time.
Yeah, I think still not. I suppose we could have, but
I think it was that year that we played. We gave McCool's a fair hammer in the semi-final, wasn't it?
That's right. That's right. We beat McCool's in the semi-final. It was 1-15 to a point in O'Donnell Park.
That mightn't have done us any good.
No, it didn't. No.
I don't think it did. Because I think we had enough that day, to beat Unions, even though they had a good side, but we didn't play well anyway.
No, we didn't. No, in all fairness, we didn't do ourselves justice. I don't think,
No, but it was one of them days.
Yeah.
The following year, we were back again the following year. Then, say there was four county finals in 5 years.
Yes.
It was 4 matches the following year then, and
yeah.
I think we were favourites that day as well against 4 masters. But another day, we seemed to I don't know what happened on the big day them days, but we had a lot of disappointments.
Well, it's hard to know what happened that day because we started off well, we scored 1-1 in the first 5 or 10 minutes, and sure we didn't score until about 5 minutes ago. Then, that was our next goal.
That's right.
And it's not. I don't know. Just we seemingly collapsed or whatever happened, but we just didn't perform again, and I know 4 masters were a fair enough side, but at the same time, we still as good a side, but we just didn't perform. After starting off very well in that match, That's
right. Donie, you had dealt a killer blow that year, and obviously it was a big blow to the team as well to lose you. You broke your leg at the training the week before the match.
That's right. Yeah. Just I think it was the week before, maybe the Tuesday before. Yeah, that was a bad evening.
It was a bad evening because I remember as a young fellow watching on. I remember that you lied over was close to the small gate over there.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And it was. I remember the crack.
Pure freak accident. That's just the way it happened. But
it was a killer blow at the time to yourself and the team.
It was, yeah. It was probably a bad time, at that age, with the team doing well and everything. We, like you said, we were in 4 finals or whatever it was out of 5 years. So you were always there in the limelight or whatever. But when you were maybe like me trying to make a breakthrough or whatever at that stage, But no, I didn't play for a year or 18 months after that. Now I was well over a year before I played again. So it was. Look, these things happen, but it was just too bad that you missed out on the final.
That's right. It was a big blow at the time. Yeah, that's right.
It was too bad.
I think it's kind of tailed off then for a few years. Donnie, you headed for the States then a few years later.
Yeah. We went out first and only got to stay a couple of weeks. I got sick the first time I went out, and we came back, and I came back after that, and then but we emigrated for good, or not for good, for a while in '87, and I came back, and I think it was in '88. I think I played championship in '88. I came back that year the next year to play, but. After that, then I went out then, and I played with Donegals, Boston. Then so that was.
You played on for a number of years after that, Donnie.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I played on till Cara. God, Lovin was. I think he was 2 after we moved. We moved from Boston to New York. I went to New York first, and then I came back home and I played for a season that summer, and then we went back out then to Boston. And we stayed there then, and then Paddy McDavid was still there at that stage. Him and Manus McFadden and Pádraig Gallagher, God rest him as well, had started Donegal, Boston, they had left. Galway would have been the big connection with Donegal that time out there. And so Paddy and Manasai got roped in with them then. And it was a great time. You know, it was only starting out. We only had a very, very, very small team, you know, but we had some. I remember Tommy Diver from down Kildaff and Father Rory Brady and Shaw's McKelvey came out to play with us. And then we had the Messers from Glenties. We had a very strong, we had Jerry Doherty and Jim McGuinness and John Kildare came out to play with us. It was it was, so we always had people coming and going, you know, but it was a great time. You know, I really enjoyed my time in Boston. You know, it was a great, it was the building of a new team, you know, that's what it was, you know, and like I said, like, you know, even in Ardra or wherever club it is, the people that never play, you know, they do so much, you know, that people never see, you know, and these people are sometimes forgotten about, you know, and they do so much, you know, like there's people in the Donegal Association there in Boston, and I remember, even I'm sure the same in New York, I was asked to go down to play a couple of times there, and I didn't play for Donegal New York now, but I remember Michael Gallagher coming out, Big G from Glenties and that playing, and I remember going down to Gaelic Park to watch the boys, Lanty and Ewan McIntyre and all them guys were playing for Donegal New York that time. But Paddy McDavid and Manus now, they deserve a lot of credit, you know, your man, I think it was Rush from James Sweeney as well. These people, they built a massive club out there.
Yeah. Massive. And you were over and back yourself fairly often, obviously with the family connection.
I was John. Yeah, I enjoyed some great trips to the States, and my first trip was in 1983, like, which is a fair while ago, and with some great trips, and I mind my very first game. I mind we were playing Connemara Gales and a boy Mark and a boy called Mickey Niblock. And I tell you, I thought I was a new kid on the block here, but I tell you, I was watching his heels around Gaelic Park all day, and he was some player, like a dairy man. And
that's right.
I look at it. It's some great memories in New York as well, like and a couple of championship medals there, and I suppose.
I think you won 2 there, Anthony, didn't you?
I won 2, yeah. And I suppose I played in one of the best teams apart from the 92 team, like, you know, Porry Dunn of Offaly, Larry at centre forward, Larry Tompkins, like, DJ Buckley at full back, like, with some team, like, you know, and we beat the Cavan team that year. Jerry McCarver was out, he was in the middle of the field, and John Costello from Laois, they were well packed as well, like, we beat them 2 points. That was 87. And then we won in 92 as well. We went out of 92, myself and Tommy and Declan and Tony went out in 92 and we won. But what I found about New York compared to playing at county football at home was, you know, you got to know the man you were playing against. You know, at home you play a county match, like, and you were just thrown on the bus again the way home, like, but you know, you mingled afterwards, like, and I made some great friends, like, through that, you know, from outside counties, like, that, you know, that we never had a chance to meet here, because that's the way it was, and like, and like, you know, you'd always have a banquet, or you'd have food after the games, and that's where you met these lads, like, and it was great, like, and you know, I suppose Larry Tompkins, you know, one of the best players I've seen too, and you know, there's no doubt about that. Like, and he deserved what he got when he came home too. You know, he won 2 with Cork.
He was a good player. He was
way before his time as regarding training or anything like that. There, like, he trained 3 times a day. You know, and then, you know, 7 o'clock in the morning maybe, and 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the evening.
You remember Thomas Pryor used to go down and get the balls for him?
That's right.
Aye, that's right.
Thomas used to retrieve them. Sure, he would spend an hour kicking free, practicing his free kicks alone, like, you know. But there were some fantastic players around New York, and then more than Boston, like, in them years, like, because, you know, just because of emigration, like, and there was a huge connection with Cork there, like, it was Cork and Donegal, like, and most, you know. Most of the time, like,
The Searles boy played Brendan Searles, wasn't he? Yeah, he's a good player.
That's right, and you're a heap of them there, and Carlo, funny enough, a big connection with Carlo there, Larry Molloy and them, they would have played county football back at home here too, and then the Kerry men would turn up an odd time, play with Patch for that.
When they were beat at home.
Not often they got a chance to get out,
No, but I think the great thing about the GAA is, and Anthony touched on it there, is when you go away from home, how important the GAA actually is. Because like Anthony says, you have time to meet people. Like I met people from all over Ireland, and I'm still friendly with some of the wee guys playing from Kilkenny and Galway and everywhere, and I think you suddenly realise that the only difference between a county player or players that are playing is the colour of their jersey.
Right.
We're all GAA people at heart, and you go out to play and you do your best. But I found when I moved away from home that circle was so tight. It didn't matter if you're playing, like Anthony said, Connemara Gales or Notre Dame, or I remember out playing. We won an intermediate in '95 out there, and John Lynch, Enda Gormley, and forget who else was out playing for Notre Dame, and we were total underdogs. And of course we had I think John Kildee and Jim and Jerry and them were there that year, and Notre Dame arrived and they had their cases of champagne and all with them, and said the dressing room had it on ice and all the rest of it, and by good fortune we won the game, whether it was a fluke or not anyway. But I remember John Lynch coming in and he says, "Them boys don't deserve no champagne." He says, "Champagne's for winners," and he carried it out of their dressing room and landed it in the middle of the floor. "You boys deserve that," he said. So it's just, I think it becomes a very tight family when you move away. It's worldwide now. You can go to Dubai, you can go to Japan, anywhere. You'll get to play GAA if you want to play it, and that's all due to people that are maybe not even, like I said, not even playing the game,
Well, plus the fact as well, Donnie, plus the fact that anybody that left home in them days, they were supposed to, like in New York, like we were lucky, like we'd Uncle James and then you'd Donald Galler, the vet.
Yes.
And you Danny Doohan.
Yes.
These kind of people looked out for you when you landed there.
Sure.
You got your job, and provided you played your football, you got your job and you worked, and you're the best of both worlds, and football is a serious thing there, and I guarantee you, if they could have come home, put a Donegal, New York team together in them days, they would have tightened any county team here,
they were very good team.
Even up in Boston, and they should put a team together up there, but sure, look at, they trained every evening nearly. And they trained hard, I spent one full summer there under Larry Tompkins, and it was the hardest thing was ever done, but you had to do it.
Yeah,
there was no way you couldn't but do it, and that was, you went up to McCole Park every evening, after work, and that was it, you had a full blown game,
That's right.
And by God, I tell you, there was some heavy hitting in it too, and
there's some great players, like you said, it was loaded with players,
Yeah,
but it's a great experience.
It was a great experience, right, Donnie? And as I said, I got to know a lot of lads through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the games I remember, Anthony, in that period of it, I remember going over in '86, and there was a good few Laird Raffles over that year, and but I think Connie got married that year. Was it '86 or '88? But Connie got married anyway.
He got married in '86, yeah.
Connie was getting married that day, the day of the wedding, the big wedding, obviously, and we were all for it. And with the game, I think it was a senior semi-final against Waterford.
It was a junior final.
Was it a junior final? Was it?
Junior final against it was in against Waterford.
It was on the morning of the wedding.
We had a packed team too, and Waterford turned around and beat us.
That's right. I remember that. It was because it was only a matter of. I remember it was only a matter of getting the game played in the morning to get ready to go for the wedding.
I
never forget it because we went to the game first with the suits with us.
I think you boys went to the wedding first and forgot about the game.
I doubt so. There wasn't much word about it that evening anyway. But it's one thing that sticks out in my mind. But because as you say, Anthony, it was a packed team, and a lot of them were out for Connie's wedding, and in a junior final, they would win senior championships at home.
Sure,
the junior team.
Well, maybe the wedding was the night before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got the dates
But I
mixed
know
up.
the 80s, there were a lot of memories in the 80s down in fairness, you know. But
Yeah.
Johnny, you were there for a long. You played. When did you finish up playing over there?
I stopped playing when we moved down to New York in about probably 92, I would say 93.
Yeah,
I stopped then, yeah, because you know, Cara was one we carry at that stage, and that, you know, and we were working kind of busy. But and again, you know, it was. I remember Michael Higgery coming up and asking me to go down to play in New York and that, you know, and I said no. I just decided at that time I was going to stop.
Priorities have changed.
Well, like, you know, with the, you know, we were playing non-stop that time, so it was no more than that, you know, and just the I suppose getting hurt out there and stuff like that there, you know, I wasn't I wasn't a citizen or nothing at that stage, you know, and green cards and that stuff and like that, you know, you get hurt, it's, you know, it was, I felt there just the responsibilities had changed, you know, so I just decided to back it in when I was reasonably healthy, you know. That's
I know what you're saying, yeah.
You know, take up golf, it was safer.
Up golf, that's See, Andy, got on through the 80s. Andy, is say we got a dip for a few years after 84, and probably were unfortunate at the end to had to crack Killybegs team. Remember the semi-final, and probably in 88 was the next kind of big day.
That was
that day in Donie.
And Donie, yeah, and probably again as a game we probably could have won too, John. Like and
that's right. But
I suppose it's a very, very good Killybegs team. Like, and maybe we just didn't believe in ourselves enough on the day. Like, but you know, I always think about that game. It was probably a game that we could have won. Like, and who knows after that what would have happened? You know.
But Killybegs won it that year.
Killybegs won it. That was Well, that was the start for Killybegs, wasn't it?
That's right. First year, there was first championship. Yeah.
That was the start.
They were kind of our bogey team then for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, look, we just couldn't get out past them, like, but like they were a good side. Like there's no doubt about that. There, like they're a hugely talented side and all around side. You know.
That's right.
And they had everything, and then they had Manas like who would punish you every day. You know.
Right. They were probably maybe the best club team we ever seen in this county, probably.
Exactly.
At that stage, you know.
At that stage, like anyway, you know.
At that stage, you know.
Over for a long period, probably, you know, they would have been the best club team. You know.
That's right.
There's no doubt about that.
There was huge matches rivalry in this corner at that stage. Obviously, no more than the early 80s. The Southwest was kind of the bedrock of football in the county, and at that period as well. You had ourselves, Kilcar, Neve Columba, Killybegs, and it was nip and tuck. Aru obviously were very strong.
Yeah. No, like there was good sides, like, and you know, funny enough, even though, you know, as good as Killybegs were, like, you know, Neve Columba, if they could take their scores on some of them finals, like they should have beat them.
That's right.
You know,
they only Neve Columba no more than ourselves in the 80s. Neve Columba only won one, and there were a few finals that time, and
I think they're only about 7 or 8, weren't they?
Yeah, they were over 7 or 8 years, I would say. But once they came up, obviously there was 4 or 5 teams that time, and really kick of a ball between any of them.
Yeah, well, Neve Columba had a very good side. You go down through some of their players. They had the Cars, you know, and Gaffigans, and they were well led. You know, I remember going on to play in Glen. My goodness, you couldn't go to a tougher spot. Like, I mean,
that's right.
I think they used to play for a cup. Was it they played the county champions?
The McNeil's Cup.
That's right. I remember going in there, and I'll tell you, it was as tough the year that Ardell won it, and we won it, and my goodness, it was as tough a game as you would get, you know, all the championship games and all the rest of it, you know. But football was great, and like you said, in the south, you know, Ballyshannon, from Ballyshannon down, you know, Four Masters then, they were
Four Masters as well, yeah.
You know, and you had ourselves and Killybegs were coming there, probably Ballyshannon, then Killybegs, Glen, you know, sure.
That's right.
The top teams in the county at that stage, nearly, you know. But
that's right. And your swan song, Anthony, was an '84 semi-final. I remember it well against Neve Columba.
Exactly, and Fantra, yeah. Funny enough, we were going well enough that day too, like in that game. But I think it was Big Damien Bug came down on top of me.
Big man too. Two big men.
Cracked down collarbone anyway, and Funny enough, that was my last game, like, and I always think about that. Funny, you'll always remember your last games, like.
That's right.
I'll always remember my last county game too, like. I was taken off in Breffney. You know.
I remember that too. I remember you telling me at the morning that Dave Clum match. Obviously, you remember you telling me that you had done everything right that morning. You watched the '92 final that morning to motivate yourself, and you were flying. You were lording in the middle of the field when you got injured that day, and you know it was another. I would always, when we were debating our Dra teams, I would always felt that was as good as our Dra team has never won a championship, because you had yourself and Rambo. You had yourself and Rambo still playing. You know, you had the likes of Red Declan, Paddy Glary, all them kind of lads that were John Kennedy. You know, you had the young guns coming on. Then
all the young guns. Yeah.
You know, Damien, Michael Doherty, Don, them kind of lads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had an exceptional team.
And funny enough, you know, if you had to get through Glen that day, you know, God only knows, like for a year or two after that, you'd be very hard to beat too, like, you know.
That's right. That was the year Paddy Higgery couldn't be marked.
That's right. Paddy ran riot then. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. He was on fire that day.
He was, yeah. It's funny. Good player, Paddy too. Yeah, but no, that was the last '94, and funny, you'll always remember them kind of days.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah. But no, listen, lads, we're kind of running out of time. Just to finish off, Donnie, obviously your own Brendan has followed in your footsteps, and he's made it to the top level now, playing county football. Obviously, must make you very proud yourself, Bernadine.
God, yeah. Brendan worked hard now. Like, Brendan wouldn't have had much. Well, he was probably young enough when he came home, you know. But it's nice for him, you know. He works hard now at it, you know. He tries hard, and we're proud. He had a great year last year, you know. Getting the Sigerson Cup, and that was great. It was a great time for him, you know. And he had a great. Well, he's still in DCU. He's finishing off his masters this year, but he had a great college career, you know.
That's right,
football, like he captained a couple of, and he won at intermediate, he won at fresher level, and I think they won the double that year, and they won Sigerson, and you know, so it's nice to have those things, yeah, you know. But it's for those people, and like I said, the game has changed, you know. Like you would agree too, the amount of commitment, and you know, and now things the way they are, you know, they can't get to college, you know, and they're kind of housed under that. They can't get training, you know, or and stuff like that, you know. But no, we're proud of him now. There's no doubt about it, you know. But he works hard at it, you know.
Yeah.
He always wanted to play for Donegal, and you know, so it was it's fair play to him. That's what I say, you know.
That's for sure, yeah.
You know, there's knocks and bangs and humps and bumps in the road, but he stuck it out, you know, through the good times and the bad times, and you know, hopefully it works out for him.
That's right. I'm sure it will. There's a big Underage influence up there, you know, between yourself and Bobby and Joe Brennan. There's obviously did something right up there.
George Doherty reminded me one day about all the boys that had left a couple of years ago. He says, and Martin Rambo's son's over, and Balmaffey and Luke's son's over there. He says,
that's right.
There's two more Ardra men up in St. Knowles, he said, and where else was he had somebody else as well.
You have John Kennedy and Four Masters.
John Kennedy and Four Masters on the road, yeah.
That's
he says, sure, we're missing. Why just not come down the road?
That's right. So we're keeping every other club going. He
said, I made a mistake. I sent the wife home first.
Very good.
No.
Very good.
That's good. No, good.
Andy, how do you think things will pan out this year?
I look at, you know, first of all, it'll be great to get things back and get people back training again, and you know, I think we're still a force. Like, there's no doubt about that. There, you know, I think we're as good a team that's in the country. Dublin might be a wee bit ahead of us, and you know, at county level anyway. But there might be that much in it. But I would love to see. I would just love to see Dublin being taken out of Croke Park for a year.
Yeah.
And it might happen sometime, maybe at this year more than any year. I think maybe an open championship would you know, it'll be as good a time as any for it. But of course it'll never happen. Like, but look at the way we've a great squad. Like we have enjoyed like a golden era here. Like it was a county squad. Like there's no doubt about that there. Like and sure, with some great days, and there's no doubt they will be challenging again. And I be chatting to Michael Murphy often. Like he's as hungry as ever. You know.
That's right.
And the squad are like no, it'll just be great to get back. Like and hopefully we'll get back soon. And be great to get the club scene going. And I would feel that that the club should be allowed to go first, because like that's where it all starts. That's where we all started. We all started with our clubs, like, and so the county should not be taking precedent over our clubs. Like I think that the club lads should be allowed back training and playing first, first and foremost, and get the club scene going. And looking forward to seeing games again, John, really and truly.
That's right, exactly. It's a big hole in everyone's life when there's nothing happening.
Exactly. Some days are quite a long day, like, and when Donie can't hit them balls 300 yards in the morning, and
It's a wonder he's not in Augusta. Is it Augusta's on this week, or what is it? What's Whitman's on this week, Donnie?
Oh, the Masters is on.
The Masters on this week.
Aye, yeah. But,
you go down the road. You're going down the road fairly often there to meet you often heading down that way.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'll go out now. I'll try now. Like I said, I sort of give up the coaching there in the schools and that, and so I figured I might as well play a bit now when I'm fit to play. So I enjoy it. Now. It's a good. I enjoy going down the road. Enjoy going down home and that, and but I don't know. Like I mean, it's just hopefully like Anthony says, brighter days ahead. We'll all get back, and back involved with St. Knowles this year a little bit, and so we're looking forward to getting back out, and like Anthony says, getting these boys back out on the pitch would be a huge help to everyone, even for like I said, the people that don't play, something to talk about, something to watch, and it's just. But hopefully there's brighter days ahead.
Yes. Well, boys, we're running out of time, and I say, listen, thanks for million to you boys for joining us tonight. There's been a big impact in our we're sort of celebrating 100 years, and hopefully we'll get celebrating soon if things allow us to. But both of you have obviously played a big part. We didn't even touch on your senior career, but on your county career. But I mean, I felt probably that this was some kind of a story that a lot of people haven't heard. And as I say, it's from a club point of view. Obviously, it was good to hear you and yourself and Donie, the two fellas that would have soldiered for years. And as I say, we wouldn't be here without you boys. And I say thanks very much. And hopefully we'll see you soon, and we'll have a few drinks and celebrate the whole thing.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Congratulations to everyone in the club too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good man, Donnie. Thank you.
See you later.
Good talking to you, Donnie. Good man. Thanks.
You too. Good luck. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, lads.